Did anyone actually think that we were going to win this game after trading away two of the longest tenured players on the team? Because I sure didn't. In fact, I am just impressed that the Washington Capitals did not lose 10-0 today. Caps lose 3-1 empty net goal at the end. So it was actually a 2-1 game. It was actually a close game between the Washington Capitals and the Boston Bruins in Boston. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is a 3-1 loss for the Caps to the Bruins in Boston. Like I said, in regulation, 0 standings points for the Washington Capitals. And yeah, we could talk about the actual game itself, and I will a little bit here. But yeah, anyone who has been following this team up to the NHL trade deadline here over these past few weeks or so knows that this NHL trade deadline was a really tough day for the Washington Capitals, specifically for the Washington Capitals players in the locker room, as two, like I said, of their longest tenured players. First, Nick Dowd, longtime fourth line center. He was here for 8 seasons with the Caps. And then franchise defenseman John Carlson, who holds every single Washington Capitals record by defensemen pretty much. First all time for the franchise in goals, first all time for the franchise in assists, first all time for the franchise in points, first all time for the franchise in games played. I could go on and on and on. He is their franchise defenseman, been here for 17 seasons, and they were both traded away at Friday's deadline. And so yeah, as you could expect, right, the Washington Capitals locker room was a bit of a morgue. It was a solemn scene there in the locker room heading into this game in Boston. And to the Caps' credit, I thought that they came out and they played really hard. They tried hard, certainly in this game. Certainly it doesn't help when the referees were just having an absolute field day in this one. 6 power plays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 2 hands for that, folks. 6 power plays for the Boston Bruins through the first 2 periods of this game. The Caps, they did pretty well on the penalty kill. They killed off 5 of 6. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is a 1-goal game coming down to the end of the 3rd period there, right? The Bruins, like I said, they had the empty net goal at the end because it was a 1-goal game. They were up by just the single goal. So at the end of the day, that 1 power play goal makes the difference for the Bruins. So yeah, the Bruins 1 for 6 on the power play, 3-1 on the scoreboard. The highlight of the game for the Caps was definitely the tying goal by Aliaksei Protas, and not because Aliaksei Protas really did anything on this play other than just deposit the rebound into the pretty much wide open net there past Jeremy Swayman, who was out of position after the initial shot by Jacob Chychrun. So yeah, great job there by Big Pro, you know, getting net front presence for sure, using his huge frame there to win the battle, win the space in front of the net, gets net front position, like I said, and deposits the rebound. But the real star on this goal was certainly the guy who had the primary assist, and that would be, like I said, Jacob Chychrun. Jacob Chychrun, who held this puck in just inside of the blue line, inside of the Bruins zone, and he managed to hold on to this puck here just inside the blue line. Like I said, he managed to hold on to this puck up at the top of the Bruins zone there for about 20 full seconds here. 20 full seconds that he was holding on to this puck, keeping it away from every single one of the Bruins defenders who were trying to get it off of him to knock it out of the zone. He is dancing all over the place here along the blue line. Like I said, just inside of the blue line there in the Bruins zone. He is absolutely dancing, makes several just gorgeous, disgusting moves to keep this puck away from Bruins defenders, fends them all off, gets around all of them. He pretty much, by the time that this play was done, he had pretty much walked every single Bruins defender that was on the ice here for Boston. And yeah, just like I said, a number of gorgeous moves here from Jacob Chychrun. The cherry on top at the end there being when he puts the puck through his own legs on a dangle to beat the last Bruins defender. And then he gets it to the net, right? The initial shot, like I said, on Jeremy Swayman creates the rebound for Aliaksei Protas to pop it into the net. So Aliaksei Protas' 21st goal of the season already for Big Pro, assisted, like I said, by Jacob Chychrun. That gorgeous work there for the primary assist, and Ryan Leonard as well on the secondary assist. But yeah, in the third period there, it is a brain fart by the Caps defense that gives Victor Arvidsson the breakaway, and he shoots it in, right? And so that is your go-ahead goal in the third period. That would turn out to be your game-winning goal, unfortunately. Like I said, the Bruins adding the empty net goal at the end there for the final 3-1 score. So this loss, typical of almost all of the Washington Capitals' losses this season, right? It is essentially a 1-goal loss. The Bruins obviously get the empty netter at the end, but it was a 2-1 hockey game. They were within a goal, right? It's a 1-goal difference there. So many times this season, most of the Washington Capitals losses, like I said, actually have been 1-goal games, 1-goal losses. So same story here again tonight. And the same story again is that again, they were even on the scoreboard at 5-on-5, right? They are a very good 5-on-5 hockey team, the Washington Capitals are. They are actually the 4th best 5-on-5 hockey team in the National Hockey League this season, if you can believe that. 4th best at 5-on-5, okay? What has killed them all season and continues to kill them is their special teams. It is the same story again here today with special teams yet again being the difference in yet another hockey game for the Washington Capitals. The power play goal that the Boston Bruins score is the difference in the hockey game, right? It was a 1-1 game at 5-on-5. The Bruins get the power play goal, like I said, going 1 for 6 on their 6 opportunities, and the Washington Capitals, they only got 3 opportunities on the power play, but again, they're 0 for 3 on the day here, and that is the difference in the hockey game, right? Again, I can beat this horse to death here. Special teams has sunk this Washington Capitals season, along with injuries, sure. But special teams, for certain, has been one of the biggest factors in the Washington Capitals likely now going to miss the Stanley Cup playoffs. I actually read a stat today, and we will probably talk about this a lot more in depth on the podcast for sure. But yeah, like I said, the Washington Capitals, they have been the 4th best team in the National Hockey League at 5-on-5 this season. They have the 4th best goal differential at 5-on-5 in the NHL out of 32 teams. They are very, very, very good at 5-on-5. And the stat that I saw earlier today was that the Washington Capitals, they have actually only been outscored at even strength in just 19 of their 64 games that they have played. So they have not been outscored at even strength in very many games at all this season. The reason why they are losing games, the reason why they have lost games this season comes down to their power play and their penalty kill run by Kirk Muller and Scott Allen, right? Who both inexplicably continue to have jobs. And I don't get this, okay? I do not understand why these two gentlemen continue to have jobs with this team. I really don't, okay? I don't cheer for anyone to lose their job. I don't cheer for anyone to get fired. That's not the type of person that I am, but we are at the point here now where it is almost inexcusable that these two assistant coaches are still employed by this franchise. How can you watch your team being as good, as dominant as the Washington Capitals have been at 5-on-5 this season? How can you, sitting up there in your ivory tower, Chris Patrick, the general manager of the Washington Capitals, how can you sit up there and watch your team be this good, this dominant at 5-on-5 and watch them have this power play and this penalty kill for 64 games now of this season and not make one move to try and fix it? And this is why this is so frustrating right now, right? Because this is not a bad hockey team. This is actually a very good hockey team who has shitty special teams. This is very fixable. This has been very fixable all season, and yet they have done absolutely nothing to try and correct it. This is a team, this is a roster that could have been, should have been in the Stanley Cup playoffs this season, but it is inaction by management that has led us to this point where they are, like I said, in all likelihood, going to miss the Stanley Cup playoffs this season because of shitty special teams, right? That is what it boils down to. There is just no other way to look at this thing. Yes, like I said, they have had injuries all season. That sucks. It has hurt them for sure. Missing a top 6 center in Pierre-Luc Dubois pretty much all season. That has really, really, really hurt them. But still, even without Pierre-Luc Dubois and all of the other injuries that they have had, okay, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the underlying statistics, the analytics, all of the underlying numbers, even with Pierre-Luc Dubois and all of those other guys who got injured at different points throughout this season, even with all of those guys out of the lineup, the team that has been put on the ice every single night for the Washington Capitals is still a good enough team, has still been a good enough team that they are the 4th best 5-on-5 team in the National Hockey League. They have still been far and away good enough that they should be in a playoff spot quite comfortably if they had even league average special teams. So I don't know how you can sit on your hands and not do anything about this all season, not address it all season. I don't know how you do that. That is inexcusable to me. Like I said, we will talk about it a lot more, I'm sure, on the podcast and go a lot more in depth with this. But yeah, it is really frustrating right now for Washington Capitals fans because, like I said, they have watched this team all season, which is a pretty good hockey team at 5-on-5, certainly one of the best in the league. And they are watching them over and 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 over again, losing games by 1 goal because they cannot get a fucking power play goal and they cannot kill a penalty. Inaction. That is the word of the Washington Capitals 2025-2026 season. But hey, they gave us David Kampf at the deadline, who was on pace for 3 goals this season. I'm sure that'll help the power play, right? I'm sure that this will be just fine. All right, babes, that is going to be it for this one before I lose my cool anymore here. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I really, really appreciate it. For the Washington Capitals part, their next game will be coming at you on Monday night. That one will be against the Calgary Flames in Washington. So home game for the Caps at Capital One Arena against, like I said, the Calgary Flames. So we will be right back here on the YouTube channel after that one. Until next time, babes, like I said, thank you all so much for watching. Mwah. I really, really appreciate all of you fine folks so much. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought about this game and what you thought about the trade deadline, what you think about the season as a whole. Do you agree with me? Am I out of line here? Lambasting the special teams the way that I am and the assistant coaches who run them. Let me know what you think, whether it's positive, negative, whatever. I always love to hear your thoughts. So yeah, drop those comments down below. Always love reading those. And yeah, until next time, babes, like I said, thank you all so much for being here. Until next time, and as always, let's go Caps.